Imagine being trapped inside one of the most secure prison camps in Nazi Germany. Barbed wire surrounds you. Armed guards watch your every move. Watchtowers loom over the camp day and night. Searchlights sweep across the ground after sunset. Every escape route seems impossible. Now imagine deciding not only to escape, but to help hundreds of others escape with you. It sounds like the plot of a Hollywood movie, but it really happened. In March 1944, a group of Allied prisoners carried out one of the most ambitious prison break attempts in history. They dug a secret tunnel deep beneath a German prison camp, built an underground ventilation system from scrap materials, forged documents, created disguises, and planned routes across enemy territory. What happened next would shock the world. 76 men managed to break free. Only 3 would reach safety, and 50 would lose their lives after being recaptured. This is the true story of the Great Escape, one of the most remarkable acts of courage, ingenuity, and resistance during World War II. Our story begins at Stalag Luft III, a German prisoner of war camp built specifically to hold captured Allied airmen. These were not ordinary prisoners. They were fighter pilots, navigators, bombardiers, and officers who had survived combat missions over enemy territory. Many had already faced death in the skies. They were highly trained, intelligent, and accustomed to making critical decisions under pressure. The Germans understood this. They knew these men would constantly look for opportunities to escape. So they designed the camp with security as the top priority. The barracks were raised above the ground, allowing guards to inspect underneath them. The camp sat on sandy soil that made tunneling difficult and dangerous. Watchtowers overlooked every section of the compound. Searchlights illuminated the perimeter throughout the night. Armed guards patrolled constantly. The Germans believed they had created a prison from which escape was virtually impossible. But they underestimated the determination of the men inside. Among the prisoners was a British Royal Air Force officer named Roger Bushell. Within the camp, he became known by a secret code name, Big X. Bushell wasn't interested in helping a few men escape. He wasn't thinking small. His vision was extraordinary. He wanted to organize a mass breakout involving hundreds of prisoners. At first glance, the idea seemed completely unrealistic. Think about it. Hundreds of men would need false identities. Hundreds would require civilian clothing. They would need maps, food, transportation plans, and escape routes. Most importantly, they would need a way to get out of the camp without being detected. Yet Bushell believed it could be done. More than that, he believed the operation could damage Germany's war effort. Even if most escapees were recaptured, German authorities would be forced to dedicate enormous resources to finding them. Police, soldiers, railway personnel, and security officers would all be diverted from other wartime duties. In other words, every escaped prisoner would become a problem the Nazis had to solve. The escape wasn't just about freedom. It was an act of resistance. Bushell and his team developed a bold strategy. Instead of digging a single tunnel, they would construct 3. The tunnels were given simple names: Tom, Dick, and Harry. The reasoning was straightforward. If one tunnel was discovered, the others might remain hidden. It was a backup plan within a backup plan. Of the 3 tunnels, Harry would eventually become the most famous. Its entrance was cleverly concealed beneath a stove inside one of the camp barracks. Above ground, life appeared normal. Prisoners attended roll calls, ate meals, and carried out daily routines. But beneath the surface, an extraordinary engineering project was taking shape. Creating the tunnel was far more difficult than simply digging through dirt. The prisoners' new German microphones and detection systems could pick up vibrations from shallow tunnels. To avoid discovery, they dug Harry more than 7 meters underground. The deeper tunnel offered better protection from detection. However, it created another serious problem: air. Without proper ventilation, anyone working underground could suffocate. The prisoners needed a solution. Using empty powdered milk tins, they built a ventilation network by hand. The tins were cut, shaped, and connected into long air ducts. They even designed a homemade pump that pushed fresh air deep into the tunnel. Then came lighting. The workers somehow managed to install an electrical system underground. Suddenly, Harry was more than a tunnel. It became a hidden underground workspace. Every available material was repurposed. Bedboards became structural supports. Scraps of metal became tools. Spoons became digging equipment. Wire became components for navigation devices. Nothing was wasted. Every item served a purpose. Digging the tunnel created thousands of pounds of sand, and that sand posed a major threat. The soil deep underground was noticeably different in color from the dirt visible on the camp surface. If guards spotted piles of unusual sand, the entire operation would be exposed. The prisoners developed an ingenious solution. They secretly attached small pouches inside their trousers. These pouches were filled with tunnel sand. As prisoners walked around the camp, they discreetly released small amounts onto the ground. Little by little, the evidence disappeared. It was a risky process. One suspicious guard could have uncovered everything. But somehow, they managed to avoid detection. As the tunnel expanded, an entire underground organization emerged inside the camp. Different groups specialized in different tasks. One team forged identity documents. Another produced maps. Others created civilian clothing from military uniforms. Some built tools and navigation equipment. Others monitored guard movements and security procedures. It resembled a miniature intelligence agency operating behind enemy lines. Everyone had a role. Everyone had a responsibility. And everyone understood the importance of secrecy. The success of the mission depended on complete cooperation. Not everything went according to plan. At one point, German authorities discovered one of the tunnels. Tom was lost. Months of work vanished overnight. For many people, that would have ended the project. But not for these prisoners. Harry remained hidden. The work continued. The men became even more disciplined and cautious. After months of effort, Harry was finally ready. The date was March 24th, 1944. The night of the Great Escape had arrived. Inside the barracks, selected prisoners waited quietly. Each man had an assigned number. Each had a destination and a plan. Some hoped to travel by train. Others intended to cross borders on foot. Many knew their chances of success were slim. Yet none wanted to miss the opportunity. The procedure was simple in theory. The stove would be moved. The hidden entrance opened. Men would descend into the tunnel. They would crawl hundreds of feet underground, then emerge beyond the camp perimeter and disappear into the darkness. But there was one major problem. The tunnel exit had fallen short of its intended location. Instead of emerging safely within the cover of nearby trees, it ended in open ground. Suddenly, the risk increased dramatically. Each prisoner had to wait for the perfect moment before leaving the tunnel. A guard turns away. A signal is given. One man crawls out. Then another. Then another. Progress became painfully slow. Inside the tunnel, conditions were terrifying. The space was cramped. The air felt heavy. Movement was difficult. Ahead lay the possibility of freedom. Behind waited dozens of men hoping for their turn. Above them stood armed guards who could end everything in an instant. Still, they continued. Hour after hour. Man after man. The operation worked. Prisoners were successfully leaving the camp. By dawn, 76 men had escaped. It was an incredible achievement. But then disaster struck. A guard noticed unusual movement. The alarm was raised. The escape had been discovered. Searchlights illuminated the camp. Guards rushed into action. Dogs were released. The tunnel was located. Inside the barracks, prisoners quickly destroyed maps, forged documents, and other evidence. Meanwhile, the escapees scattered across Nazi Germany. Some boarded trains. Some traveled through forests. Others headed toward international borders. But Germany was one of the most heavily controlled places in the world. Checkpoints were everywhere. Police conducted frequent inspections. Identity papers were examined carefully. Any mistake could prove fatal. One wrong answer. One suspicious accent. One nervous glance. That was all it took. Gradually, the escapees were captured, one after another. Some lasted only hours. Others remained free for days. A few traveled remarkable distances. Yet only 3 men ultimately reached safety. Those 3 were Per Bergsland, Jens Muller, and Bram van der Stock. Out of 76 escapees, only 3 succeeded. When Adolf Hitler learned what had happened, he was enraged. The escape was a major embarrassment. A prison camp designed to prevent escape had been outsmarted by prisoners using stolen materials and homemade equipment. At first, Hitler demanded severe punishment. Eventually, 50 of the recaptured prisoners were selected and executed. They were taken away in small groups and shot. German authorities falsely claimed they had been killed while attempting to escape again. The truth was far darker. These executions were war crimes. The murders shocked Allied nations and became one of the most tragic chapters of the story. The Great Escape remains unforgettable because almost everything about it seemed impossible. The tunnel should have collapsed. The guards should have discovered it sooner. The ventilation system should have failed. The forged documents should have been exposed. The secret should have leaked. Yet none of those things happened. For months, hundreds of prisoners worked together with extraordinary discipline and determination. They transformed everyday objects into tools of resistance. They created hope where hope seemed impossible. Most importantly, they refused to surrender their spirit. The Great Escape was never just about getting out of a prison camp. It was about proving that even under the harshest conditions, people can still challenge oppression. They can still innovate. They can still resist. And they can still dream of freedom. So here's a question for you. If you had been inside Stalag Luft III on that cold March night in 1944, would you have entered the tunnel knowing the odds were against you? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more incredible true stories from history.